It's 1759 on the island of Mauritius is under French colonial rule. The enslaved population are working on a sugarcane plantation. Cicero, an unfortunate slave hated by his own people, yet strangely trusted by his French master, Eugène. While others consider him Eugène's dog, he wants nothing but a bright future for his daughter, Mati. So one evening, he teaches her French, because sometimes opportunity is spoken in a different language. But their quiet lesson takes a turn when Mati brings up something forbidden: escape. She believes there's a haven for slaves, but Cicero turns her down. In this world, anyone who tries to leave the farm winds up dead. The following morning proves his point. Two slaves are brutally punished for trying to escape. They are branded and their ears are sliced. Others watch in silence, scared that they'd be dead if they tried it, while Cicero translates everything fat rotund Eugène says. That evening, things get worse as Mati suffers a spiritual attack, but her father swoops in just in time to save her. After the spirit fades, Mati reveals something chilling. It looks just like her late mother, Ngone. She wants her mother to possess Cicero, so he'll have the strength to rise up, kill the masters, and escape with the other slaves. But once again, Cicero refuses. He begs her to trust his plan, because if she doesn't, she won't survive at all. That same evening, Cicero is summoned to Eugène's home to meet the newly arrived governor. Cicero speaks perfect French, impressing the room. But then, the governor asks why slaves escape. Cicero mentions that fatigue and hard labor scare the slaves. The ugly-ass governor doesn't like that answer. He believes that slaves are animals and should not have the luxury of rest. After a tense pause, he angrily sends Cicero out of the room, and Eugène apologizes on his behalf. After that, Honoré, Eugène's son, says that he taught Cicero everything he knows and believes that slaves belong to the human race and should be treated better. Honoré strikes a nerve, causing the governor to end the dinner. As punishment, the governor relieves Eugène of some business privileges and walks out. Eugène slaps his son afterwards. He then summons Cicero, strips his privileges, and declares that Mati will live in his house permanently. Cicero is heartbroken after hearing this, and even when he begs, Eugène ignores him. However, Mati escapes the farm before she is taken to Eugène's house. The next day, Eugène's men return empty-handed, and their boss is disappointed that they could not find Mati even with horses. Frustrated, he orders that they call a bounty hunter to finish the job. He then tells Honoré that he will be part of the slave hunt. Although hesitant, Honoré agrees and begs that Mati be spared punishment when she is brought back. Eugène accepts. Later that morning, Cicero is brutally tortured under Eugène's orders. Despite his pain, Cicero refuses to drop any info regarding Mati's possible location. Just then, a bounty hunter, popularly known as Madame Victoire, arrives with her boys, Joseph and Baptiste, to take up the case. She interrogates Cicero and then proceeds to torture a slave who was close to Mati. She is pregnant. Without hesitation, the slave drops info about the safe haven Mati always talked about. Like that, Victoria prepares to leave with her team, and Honoré joins them, following his father's wish. With a dog leading the way, they track Mati through the woods and quickly realize she didn't run alone. Someone helped her. Back at the plantation, Cicero's locked up in a cell, punished for his daughter's escape. But at night, he convinces a fellow slave to free him. She does, almost risking everything. Once freed, Cicero slips into the woods, desperate to find Mati. As he stumbles through the dark, his late wife's spirit, Ngone, appears, claiming she knows where Mati is. The next day, Cicero finds a stream deep in the woods and finally gets a chance to drink. He takes a moment to catch his breath, then struggles to break the metal shackles around his head. After some effort, he succeeds. He then draws markings in the dirt and performs a ritual, hoping the spirits will show him which direction Mati went. At night, Honoré shares a campfire with Madame Victoire and her boys. The group eats in silence, enjoying the warmth from the fire. Honoré eventually breaks the silence by bringing up Victoria's past. She was abused as a child and forced into a marriage she never wanted, a painful history that he thought might make her sympathetic toward the slaves. But that's not the case. Despite everything she's been through, Victoria shows no empathy. Instead, she's become hardened, a loyal enforcer who only follows orders from the church without question. Oh, just a typical spoiled sour cream woman then? That same night, while Cicero is asleep, Ngone appears, begging that he renew their covenant and get the ancestors on his side. When he wakes up the next day, he continues his journey into the woods, but is spotted meters away by Madame Victoria's binoculars. Cicero bumps into another slave who tells him to be cautious since Madame Victoria's team is around. Without hesitation, Cicero follows his lead and hides with the slave's wife and baby. They stay hidden for a while, but the baby's cry sends them sprinting on their heels. After making sure his wife is safe, the slave hands Cicero a weapon and leads the charge against Madame Victoria's team. In the chaos, Cicero manages to pin Baptiste to the ground. But before he can act, Honoré appears and points a gun at him, demanding that he surrender. Just when it seems like it's over, the other slave sneaks up and slashes Honoré's throat, urging Cicero to escape while he still can. Cicero spares Baptiste's life and bolts into the woods, with Joseph hot on his trail. The chase is intense, but luck is on Cicero's side. Another slave, Rado, jumps in and helps him shake Joseph off for good. Rado mentions he is searching for a haven for slaves, while Cicero tells him he is looking for his daughter. He settles in Rado's cave to rest, but notices Rado's uniform and asks about his background. His contributions to the country earned him citizenship, but he became a fugitive when the whites burned his slave release documents. That evening, Baptiste begs that Cicero's life be spared, since he spared his. At dawn, Rado leads Cicero into the woods and marks out a specific pattern to guide him to his destination. Meanwhile, Baptiste refuses to continue the slave hunt with Joseph and Madame Victoire. He insists on returning Honoré's corpse to Eugène and even wrestles with Joseph to demonstrate his seriousness. Later that morning, Joseph intercepts Rado and shoots him in the leg. He tortures him, demanding to know Cicero's location. But despite the pain, Rado declines to give out any info. Upon seeing his uniform, Madame Victoire asks where he got it. That's when he mentions that he served the King of France. He then insults Madame Victoria's wrinkly face, and the old hag shoots him. Afterwards, Madame Victoire storms into his hideout to find anything that can help her slave hunt. At some point, she finds Cicero's old clothes and hands them to her dog. One sniff, and it bolts. Madame Victoire and Joseph follow close behind on horses, hunting him. In minutes, the dog finds Cicero at a stream and attacks immediately. They tumble off the cliff together and get swallowed by the river below. But it doesn't end there. Gasping, bleeding, and desperate, Cicero escapes the river, only for the dog to attack him again. But this time, he fights back, and the dog doesn't get up. Madame Victoire and Joseph watch from a distance as a wounded Cicero escapes into the woods. Later, they charge in his direction, but struggle to pinpoint where he is. That night, Ngone's spirit appears to Cicero, reminding him to renew their blood covenant. He regains his strength at dawn and continues his journey until he exits the woods. Here, he finds a couple of dead slaves on the riverbank and fears that Mati might be there. Fortunately, she isn't. Upon re-entering, he sees a group of slaves and weeps bitterly, begging to find his daughter. That's when one of them helps him up and points him in Mati's direction. Cicero cannot believe his eyes when he finds Mati. He makes her smile when he agrees to follow her to the haven she talked about earlier. That afternoon, Madame Victoire exits the woods and finds the dead slaves at the riverbank. On investigating further, she points at a distant cliff, hoping to find Cicero and Mati there. Meanwhile, Mati and Cicero plan how they will escape to their haven. They hide when they see Madame Victoire and Joseph approaching their position. That's when it dawns on Cicero. He is sick and tired of running. He wishes to renew the blood covenant and end things with the hunters at once. So at night, he sets up the ritual and accepts Ngone's spirit. Elsewhere, Madame Victoire and Joseph sit around a campfire eating dinner. The woman senses something off and instinctively dodges an arrow heading for her and Joseph. Terrified, Joseph immediately picks up his gun to find who shot the arrow. That's when a weird figure creeps up behind him and stabs him, leaving him in critical condition. Madame Victoire weeps bitterly and stabs him in the heart to ease his suffering. After Joseph's passing, she tries to find the attacker, but all she sees are hallucinations. Cicero creeps up again and gives her a one-way ticket to meet Lucifer, because she was a fake Christian. Shockingly, Ngone appears at Eugène's residence and stabs his fupa. The next day, Mati helps Cicero to his feet, but he is as weak as ever. Despite her efforts, he falls and loses consciousness on the way. She cries out loud, desperate for help. Luckily, help arrives. It's other fugitive slaves who escaped, and they help Cicero reach their haven to get treatment. A traditional healer tends to his wounds, and he recovers in no time. Later that night, the fugitive slaves gather around a campfire to introduce themselves and share their stories. They come from various tribes, including Yoruba, Fulani, and others. When it's Cicero's turn to speak, he introduces himself and mentions that he is a descendant of a clan of wizards. He shares that his wife was killed in the past because she detested being a slave, a trait his daughter inherited. He then introduces Mati as his daughter and invites her to speak. Mati introduces herself and recounts a tale her mother told her when she was alive. She claims that the story empowered her and gave her hope to free her people and establish more villages like the Haven. The following day, she joins the others in the woods and stops by a stream for a dip. While there, she sees her mother's spirit looking at her and smiles back at it. The next morning, something strange happens. The governor's men locate the slaves' hiding spot. Cicero spots them from a distance and immediately goes to find his daughter. As the soldiers close in, they open fire in the direction of the slaves to scare them. Cicero and the other slaves run for their lives but stop when they reach a cliff. Surprisingly, the soldiers' commander presents an offer, telling the slaves to surrender and be spared by the governor. Cicero knows for sure that it's BS. He mutters, "Without chains, without masters." They leaped off the cliff as death was better than being enslaved. Although not a completely true story, it was inspired by historical accounts of former slaves in the region. What did you guys think of this one?
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.